able to sit with it and look at it and explore it. Another model to get at how grief works is this dual process model. And they talk about grief as kind of oscillating between two different states. And the first state is all that emotion and the sadness and the grief and the anger and maybe feeling somewhat depressed and all those behaviors and cognition stuff that I just talked about with our experience of loss and grief. And the other piece that they talk about is this restoration-oriented piece, where it's almost an adaptive denial of those feelings. So I just think about a mom going about her busy day with her kids. She's sad about something. She might say, I'm going to give myself 15 minutes, I'm going to cry in the bathroom, and then I'm going to give my kids dinner, because I got to do that. So it's not denying what has happened. She's still giving herself time to address the emotional piece of grieving, but she also needs to do some practical things to get through the day. Or it might be somebody saying, I'm sad over here, I'm spending some time grieving, but I'm also going to learn how to keep the checkbook, the budget, all those things that I didn't know how to do before. So both of those pieces move us through grief, and their idea is that you spend time in one, it gives you space in the other, like away from the other, and you go back and forth, and it helps sort of navigate yourself forward. And that in order to move to the other side of grief, it does involve adapting new roles and new skills and building those things. So sometimes I think people feel like, oh, I'm not working on my grief right now, I'm learning to do this task. Well, actually that might be working on your grief just in a different way. And Martin and Doka sort of get the same idea. They talk more about grieving styles. And they look at not so much a gender-based grieving, but more like a personality or socialization, where some of us are more comfortable doing that emotional kind of grieving. That is just how our personality is. We grieve that way. Whereas other folks might be more instrumental. So it might be more helpful as a grieving exercise to go paint the fence than it would be to cry. And that could be along gender lines, but it might not be. And as far as socialization of this goes, I realized before working in healthcare, I think I was probably more of an intuitive griever. But you can't socialize to the environment that you're in, and I think I probably more grieve along an instrumental line. And neither is right or wrong or good or bad, and they can be a little bit learned. And we might learn them from our families of origin, and we might learn them from just the social folks that are around. So just another option for thinking about how we grieve. And the last one I want to spend a little bit of time talking about is William Worden, and he has what he calls the 4 tasks of mourning, and he talks about them being essential for our healing process. And again, there's no specific order.